Hey, what's going on, guys? Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net. Today we're doing a complete technique analysis breakdown of Tommy Paul's first serve. If you want to find out what the keys to his first serve are, stay tuned. It's coming up next. Before we jump into this analysis here, let's give a shout out to 12K GP Tennis, the video on the right side of the screen. There'll be some links in the description below. So we've got the first serve technique of Tommy here on the left and on the right, just two different angles. So Tommy does what most people do. He has a serve ritual or routine in the beginning of his motion where he bounces the ball a few times before he catches it and then starts his service motion. We notice here his body weight is forward and his feet are about shoulder width apart. So he's leaning forward into the court a little bit. He's got the racket arm here, the hitting arm back a little bit, and then the feet are about shoulder width apart with the toes of his back foot kind of just touching the ground and the heel of his back foot off the ground at this stage. So there's a lot of components going on here just in the beginning, but again, we see the body weight shifted forward. He's going to catch the ball at this point, and then he starts the rest of the motion. What he'll do is bring his hitting arm forward to meet the tossing arm, and then he starts bringing those arms up together while maneuvering his back leg just a little bit and starting to shift his weight a little bit more towards the back, okay? Then he continues to bring that up, and once he reaches the highest point of bringing this up right here with the ball and racket, but now from this position here, he's really going to shift his weight back, and we see it go to the back foot from that stage right there, right? So it goes back, and then the arms start to come down, and we can see that his back leg, right, also as he comes back, the back leg starts to bend a little bit right here. So we see that back leg is bent, especially on the right side of the screen, right? So he's changed quite a few things to get the rhythm going. The racket and ball are coming down. The racket starts to go back in this position. And from here, he establishes what I like to call racket leg. So that means his racket is in a little bit more of a down position while his tossing arm is going up at the same time. The arms are moving together, but again, we've got one down and one going up. So they're a little bit opposite in terms of that. Even though they're in the same rhythm, the positions are a little bit opposite here. And then that tossing arm goes up. And we can see when the tossing arm goes up, he lets go of his ball toss just like most servers do. Right around eye or forehead level is when the ball starts to release out of the hand right there. You can see that position right there. So again, very typical in terms of his rhythm right there. He comes from here, releases the ball. A couple other things that we see from this position, especially on the right side of the screen, he has what I like to call a racket leg where he keeps the racket on the right side of his body during the trophy position of the serve. So the trophy position is just simply once we have our knees bent like this, heels of the shoes are off the ground. We're bending our knees now. We've let go of the toss. The toss has traveled up into the air, and we reach this tennis trophy position right here. And when Tommy reaches that position, what we clearly see with him is that his racket is definitely on the right side of his body here, okay? Which creates more lag, which means the racket's going to have to speed up to catch up to the ball, and it's going to accelerate faster and create more speed, spin, and power on the serve. So he's got a lot of racket leg on this. And again, we see from here, okay, gets into a strong trophy position. What constitutes a strong trophy position? The things that I'm basically looking for, right? A really good knee bend, like we see in both videos here, heels up off the ground on both shoes, on both sides of the screen. Also, the hitting arm is usually in a bit of like an L shape right there, and the tossing arm usually gets completely straight. Another thing Tommy does really well, he gets his palm up on the tossing hand facing the sky, so he gets a really strong stretch in his core here. And then we also notice that his upper body is coiled quite a bit, and it's facing the net a little bit more on this side of the screen. So his back really turns here. Watch the back. Turns here and rotates when he goes to toss that ball up. So he gets a lot of rotation. He's getting a lot of power on that serve and a lot of speed from these different components. And there's a lot going on here, but there's a lot going on in any good service motion. So just here, we go into the trophy position. Again, we see palm up to the sky with the tossing hand and arm in both videos. And then we see that racket clearly on the right side of the body, and he lags that quite a bit as he goes to serve. So Tommy has, in my opinion, one of the more underrated serves on tour, and he has a very good technical base for a very strong service motion. All right, from this position, guys, we can see again that really strong trophy position, right? And then from here, another thing we notice with most really good servers is when their ball toss reaches peak height of the toss itself, right? So right now, Tommy's reached peak height right here with the ball toss. It's at the highest point it's going to get before the ball toss starts to come down. When we reach peak for most servers at peak are in the trophy position. It's very rare for somebody not to be at the trophy position. This is great timing for a really effective serve. And then just from here, his left arm, right? Because he's going to start to rotate his upper body, and he's going to come out of his knee bend here, right? The knees and legs start to straighten out. And while that move happens, he starts to rotate and go up into contact. So there's a lot that's going on here. Another key to this position, though, is that his chest, right, kind of pointed up towards the ball. So we're really stretching the upper body and the core, but getting the chest up. And then he goes to swing at the serve. And when he does this, Tommy gets, again, something that's a sign of big racket head speed, but his racket kind of flares out to the right here of his hand and elbow. And when we see this flared out position, at least what I've seen with the biggest servers in the world, including, again, Andy Roddick going way back, is this flared out position means a lot of racket head speed and a lot of flexibility and looseness in that arm. We're going to get a bit of a rubber band effect and a lot of elasticity and power into the serve. So Tommy achieves that position right here. And then from here, again, from that trophy, his serve happens pretty quickly with that. Now the body is in much more of a position where the body is much more extended and much more straight, not completely straight, but more straight than it was before. We also notice that one of the keys to contact is the ball in contact position usually will fall in line roughly with the hitting shoulder, depending on the type of serve that we're hitting, whether it's flat or slice for a first serve, but it usually falls roughly in line with the hitting shoulder, which is pretty similar for Tommy here. And then at this point, right, we can see that our right shoulder is higher than our left shoulder. So we have that shoulder over shoulder position at contact with the ball, which is very important. And the same thing with the hips, a little bit of a hip over hip position at contact as well. And then from there, both feet clearly off the ground on both sides of the screen right here. And then as we follow through, we can see there's some level of pronation that's taking place where that hand turns out and over on both serves here. And then from there, Tommy will land inside the court a bit, usually well in front of the baseline if he's playing a point, okay? But getting inside the court, and then the back leg will kick back like this, which helps us to balance on the serve. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video on Tommy Paul's first serve technique. If you found this video helpful or you feel like you learned something today, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It helps this channel continue to grow. I'm Jason Frausto for tennisunleashed.net. I'll see you next time.